Thank you. First of all, just a big thank you to be able to present at the conference. Very happy to be here. As described, my name is Glynn Hayston. I am a consultant at DuPont Sustainable Solutions based out of Abu Dhabi in the Middle East. And my topic today will really be discussing the issue of supplier or contractor safety excellence, the roadmap to get there. So we're often asked by our clients how to improve the contractor safety management and to assess them. What we frequently see and we're surprised by is the fact that so many contractors and suppliers do not have a clear vision and goal in terms of how the safety and the safety of their personnel will be managed. At the heart of the matter, we seem to think, is that there is a lack of understanding of safety as a core part of the critical business and not just an additional add-on function. It's not really until a company experiences a catastrophic event which results in a significant loss of life or significant loss to equipment or facilities, or possibly both, that organizations really see safety as a core part of their business and a core part of their success. I think it's far easier to see this as an example when you think about your children. We all, when we engage with our children, we see safety as a critical and core part. It's integrated into how we engage with our children and how we let them live their lives. The ultimate goal of a parent is to really help a child understand safety and to guide them through that process until they get to the point where they see safety as a core value themselves and think about their personal safety, usually around their teenage years where they start understanding this. So as business owners, we all, our employees rightfully or wrongfully expect us to provide a safe environment for them, and we ultimately do our best to do so. However, our employees do not always do things in a safe and secure way. So ultimately, it is our responsibility to help them understand that safety is a core value. It's integrated into our business and how we manage things, and it is each and every person's responsibility to do so. Excuse me for a second. So, product or service companies share a couple of fundamental elements to their business, whether they are documented or written down or whether they're ingrained in terms of the business process. Ultimately, you want to build a reputation to be a valued supplier. You'd like your organization to be called on to bid for work in a number of environments, and you want those bids to be successful and ultimately win work, supply goods and services to the construction industry and beyond. This is where sustainability comes in. If you're able to provide good workmanship, excellent products, and ultimately derive value for client organizations, therefore your services will be requested on a more regular basis, and they will utilize your services again. If you're efficient and effective in how you do that, and ultimately do so safely, you can become profitable, and you can continue to grow. So this is the ultimate aim for each of organizations as we move through. So DuPont Corporation, through a number of years of building, operating facilities, upgrading them, engaging with contractors, has developed a robust contractor management system. So this model represents an owner-controlled, an owner interaction management system with various contractors. Some owners have detailed systems like this existing in place, and their expectations are that contractors and suppliers work within this framework and work as partners with them. They execute these processes effectively and efficiently, and ultimately, they work as a partner and part of the owner's system. So almost like there's no separation between contractor and owner organization. When this happens, the contractor really reaches a point of being a valued partner and works with the client organization. However, often a lot of these things on the owners and on construction companies that employ the goods and services, they do not have these existing systems, or there's gaps in these systems. As such, there are failures from the supplier side and contractor side in terms of deliverables, in terms of quality of materials, in terms of actions of your personnel and interactions with the clients. An example of this, or where the challenges come in safe, would be a scope of work. Lacking a detailed scope of work ultimately results in the fact that whatever is delivered in the end quite often might be misaligned with what the client or what the owner organization is looking for. With particular regards to safety, without having a clear definition of what the owner regards as safety and having that articulated in a contract, it becomes very difficult for a supplier or contractor to implement a safety management system that meets that goal because the goal is not clear. And ultimately, the first line support on site or in your premises fabricating equipment or goods is unable to articulate that into their daily work systems. Ultimately, this impacts the employees on your side for the contractor or supplier, and ultimately the owner organization too. So in our actions with our clients and with our contractors and in our consulting engagements, we see that there are a number of areas in terms of our assessments where things go awry. So this is really a list of some of the most significant and regular challenges we see. Many suppliers do not have their own written safety management practices. Quite often during the bidding process, they'll borrow them from the client just to meet the minimum requirements. However, a good supplier will have a detailed safety management system and will have a clear definition of what best-in-class means for them in terms of managing the safety of their personnel, of their facilities, and ultimately the client's facilities and personnel. This system provides the foundational basis for a management system which takes care of safety, of quality, and ultimately of timing and the deliverables of the contract. And it's integrated into everything we do. In terms of the bidding process, what we see a lot is that in order to lowball bids to win work, organizations will not cost in safety as part of the bid process. And ultimately, what this results is in clashes with the client organization, particularly in site-based work, and the need to bolt add-ons during the contract execution and during the fabrication of works, which ultimately impacts the profitability of the supplier or contractor. We find that it's much better to miss out occasionally on a contract or a piece of work and let another contractor possibly impact their reputation. What is useful, and actually very, very useful, is to incorporate safety as a line item in terms of the budgeted work that is proposed to the client, as a separate line item, so that the owner contracting organization, their contract administration staff can see that safety is a core value to you as an organization, but they can understand the breakdown and where that fits in and take that into cognizance when they're comparing relatively different bids. We've talked about safety being an integrated process. What's important here is that one serious safety incident can have a significant impact on your profitability and ultimately your reputation in the market. Too many organizations will deploy a safety professional to police work and to manage work. This almost certainly always fails. Safety needs to be a core function of the line responsibility, and with safety functions and safety personnel supporting that. It's a cultural element that needs to be driven through the organization from management through to first line support and then ultimately through to the workers. Equally important to this is proper onboarding and training. When a detailed onboarding program spends a lot of time on safety, this sends a clear and visible message to first-line support and all the workers and people within your organization that safety is an important culture and that it's integrated into your management system. Again, continued support, ongoing training, reinforcement of important elements, and tracking of issues and areas for improvement will again send the right message and keep safety as front of mind. A very important one is around the communications and the statistics, safety statistics. What we find is that a lot of organizations put effort in terms of having a number of safety statistics, tracking a number of metrics. Ultimately, a lot of these metrics are past-based, so looking at the number of injuries, the number of incidents. A proactive safety management system or safety metrics are critical in identifying issues before they result in significant events, and then putting the continuous improvements and sustainability practices in place to close those. And then finally, the communications. Communications is a simple concept, but again and again we see communication being a challenge, not just in terms of safety, but in terms of the ongoing contractor management. how suppliers and contractors engage with their owner organizations and how they deal with disputes. So a good communication plan is critical to be put in place early during the contractor negotiation period. And if the owner organization does not have a communication plan or process, you as a supplier or contractor would be really in a good position if you insist on that process during the bid negotiation and ultimately agree that as part of the contract award. Ultimately, as a contractor, or a supplier to the construction industry, you want to present a professional, responsible image. And that image needs to take you from, it certainly starts during the bid process, moves through the contract execution process, and again, during the contractor close process is key. So on the next few slides, I will discuss each of these elements that we believe are really key to that sustainable organization. In terms of bid packages, I spoke earlier about how important it is to consider the safety expense and include that. This provides a lasting impression for the client, helps them understand clearly that safety is important to you and that it's a value. And as I said, sharp, very intelligent resourcing people will see that, and they'll understand that both safety, quality, and these elements of a management system are important to you. You've considered them, and that work will continue during the implementation. What's important and what we see is that there's a very strong correlation between having a safety program and a quality program. Organizations and contractors that we work with that have a good safety program invariably have a good quality program and vice versa. So both of these are inherent cultural values and are ingrained within your organization. It shows the strength of your organization, it shows the quality of your work, and ultimately puts you in a good position to win the work. I spoke about effective communications, and as I said, it's really important that this communication process is established during the negotiation process and isn't just an afterthought once the contract is signed, as that might leave a bit of leeway between expectations of both organizations. Next up is critical safety management. So what is critical safety management? Critical safety management is all of the activities which are part of your core safety processes, such as lockout, tagout, working at heights, confined spaces, etc. But also, it's all of the activities that sit out of those core processes but are still managed and run by the first line support. And why that's important is that some important research that we've posted is that nearly 40% of all serious incidents occur not within the core safety activities, so some of those critical safety items we discussed, but still fall within the areas of the first line of support. So they're still your first line supervisors are privy to those and have control to make decisions around them. So it's critical that your supervisors' actions and ideas and implementation of the safety program and the safety culture are important in driving those incidents down. And continuous improvement is obviously key. As with the safety observations and safety metrics around proactive measurements, these are critical in identifying near misses and challenges before they happen, allowing you to implement measures to improve and update your processes. This allows you to update training programs, your on-the-job safety analysis, daily safe task instructions, the safety messages that you're given. All of this process should be documented and shared with the owner organization, that it's transparent and have an understanding of exactly what needs to be done. And then finally, partnering with the organization. While this is last on the wheel and the last discussion points, this again begins during the contractual negotiation phase. The principles and ideas need to be set up at that stage. An effective bridge of communication needs to be addressed. And you need to start the planning or the process of becoming a valued supplier and a partner with the work during that stage. And then that lasts throughout the execution of the process. So at this stage, I just want to share a little anecdote from Alice in Wonderland. So Alice is walking through Wonderland, and she doesn't know quite where she's going. She sees the Cheshire Cat in the tree and asks him, would you mind telling me, sir, which way I ought to go from here? The Cheshire Cat smiles at her and says, that depends a good deal on where you'd like to go, Alice. So Alice says, I don't much care where I go, looking a bit bemused. To which the Cheshire Cat smiles broadly and says, then it doesn't matter which way you go. The message here being you need to have a clear idea of where you want to be, of how you want your clients and the owner organizations to see you in the industry, and that drives your actions, and that drives the decisions you make on a daily basis. Okay, so in terms of reaching the sustainability and building a safety culture, what is important? You'll see at the top there's safety technology. So safety technology has come a long way in the last 50 years through process safety being implemented by a lot of legislation around the world, safety tools and methods, safety apparel. All of those things are critical in reducing the likelihood and certainly the impact of events when they occur. Beyond that, we start getting into some of the issues that I've been talking about around planning, around setting everything up, front-end loading the contracting process and agreeing things in advance. Bringing the number of incidents and the likelihood down further is around your execution, your first-line support and engagement during the process. And then ultimately, that frontline support and the safety culture that you bring is the most likely or the most critical item in bringing those number of safety elements all the way down to zero ultimately. So some of you may have seen the Bradley curve. Actually, interestingly, I was presenting at a conference in India, and one of the other presenters put this on right before my talk, so it was really good grounding points that I could discuss. So the Bradley curve was developed by one of DuPont consultants internally, and it measures the cultural maturity and the safety culture. And as you see, as you move from on the left-hand side, which is really around responding to rules, very much police and pushing people. As you move from the cultural maturity towards, and your culture and safety behavioral change towards interdependency, then you move away from that and you get to volunteering, engaging, people feeling leadership, role modeling and influencing each other, where you don't have safety professionals working, but you have frontline support and supervisors being the key driver, but workers actually engaging together. This ultimately drives the number of incidents down towards zero, and allows people to really feel this culture of safety. So in terms of advancing to the safety culture, it's an integrated effort. What the graphic on the left in the gray is trying to show is that all the different influences, both internally and externally, to having an integrated safety culture. The social context, the leadership culture, all of these elements through to the observations, the rules, your actions, etc. On the right-hand side, what you see is two core elements. The first is management action. And as it says there, the leader's cultural commitment and demonstrated actions nourish the proper behavior qualities of its employees, including beliefs, attitudes, actions, and awareness. So the senior leadership at the higher level, all the way filtering down to the first line of support, their representatives on the ground show the behavior and drive that behavioral change. And ultimately, then you have an employee response. So employees care about their work quality and safe being of their fellow employees. Ultimately getting to the point where you have a top-down approach. You have the leadership visibly living safety, engaging in safety, talking safety, and you have the employees reacting to that. And doing the same thing, taking that role modeling to the next level. So finally, when we work with our clients, what does a safety roadmap look like? I've talked a lot about company values, core values, and the culture shaping organizational behavior. So that's with the preceding slide. So how do we move that forward over a period of 3 years? Clearly, from what I've said, we need to start at the top. So the change management of the cultural change within the organization starts with the leadership, with something that we at DuPont called felt leadership. And then the name speaks for itself, really. It's the true feeling from the leadership that every single employee is a valuable resource, that safety is critical, and that everyone's coming and leaving work as healthy as they joined in the morning is critically safety. Furthermore, visible felt leadership is not just about safety, it's about core values. It's about having respect for each other, listening to each other, engaging with each other, and ultimately moving forward in a sustainable way together through a journey through the cultural transformation. Then the cultural training is critical, and that starts from the leadership level and ultimately wants to move down to site supervision. What this seeks to do is to, first of all, start with the technical aspects of safety through observations, understanding hazards, but ultimately to get that felt leadership down from the senior level to the lower level. The ultimate gain of this is for first line supervision and support to understand their critical role in shaping the values of the organization and shaping safety as a core value. So as I spoke about proactive safety management, this is really about implying leading metrics. Lagging metrics are useful and they're good in terms of delivering trends, but leading metrics as part of your overall safety management system and applying corrective actions, and those actions flowing through. So not just identifying issues, but understanding why, and then making changes to your processes, to your engagement models, to your induction programs, training programs, to sustainably close those gaps. The ultimate aim of this is to, as I've said a couple times now, is to stop incidents before they happen. Not to be reactive to things that are happening, but to identify the trends beforehand and sustainably put measures in place. The next one that I have spoken about a lot is the communication implementation. What's important about this communication process is it's not just a one-to-one or a one-directional conversation. It's across organizations, it's through to the owner, it's into your staff, it's the first line supervision staff, it's people doing the physical work, and it's leaders involved in that process. Ultimately, you want it to be a dialogue, to be able to understand people's points of view, to gain insight from the people physically doing the work, and then to get them involved in that process and to buy into it at a fundamental level. And what that results then, finally, in is employee behavioral response. Each of the employees really gets an understanding to feel that the safety process is for them and that they're part of the process. They're engaged in the safety management system, they're engaged in understanding the challenges and communicating those challenges to their leadership. The owner organization takes that active interest within the contractor's environment, and that there's sustainability built into that through continuous improvement and through learning. So these are the ways that we see, or the elements that we see in a typical engagement with the client to change that behavioral change. Ultimately, how you know it's successful and the aim of the entire program is something that we refer to as my brother's keeper. And that's the culture of interdependence, where you no longer need first-line safety supervisors to comment and change behavior, where you have individual workers engaging, bringing things up to management, putting new systems into place based on their experience. And that's the ultimate goal, my brother's keeper. So I want to thank you very much for your time. I hope the discussion's been useful. I understand there might be some questions, so I'm happy to engage on any of the questions or on Twitter. Thank you very much.